Hey, my day is today. Are you going my way until the rising sun?
Okay. Recording. Okay. Hey everybody, it's Corinne from ZEN FEMME, and I'm here with psychic medium and long time friend, Hope Taylor. So I will just get right to it, and thanks for joining us for this, everybody who's here and whoever's watching the replay. And Hope, do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us
Sure.
what your background is and all that fun stuff?
Okay, so I am a psychic medium. I've been publicly practicing about, I want to say, since April of 2016. But obviously, those of us that are born with these, I believe that we're born with these natural abilities, and some of us choose to, grow them or be comfortable with them. I got to a point where it wasn't anything that I could ignore anymore. Not that I wanted to, but for myself, over the course of my life, I've used it for more like of an internal guidance. And then I realized through the loss of my uncle in 2015, December 2015, the impact of what I'm able to do and how it's able to help others. And I really felt that there was a calling there. So I went and spoke to another medium and just wanted to make sure that what I was experiencing, because it's my understanding, and there's a lot of people that I'm able to work with that we can like link in together, but there's a lot of different ways that people work with their abilities, their gifts, and I just had a lot of questions. And it was basically connecting all the dots of how over the course of my life, these different things that have happened to what that means. And through that, and through a lot of reading, she suggested a lot of books, and some I just found on my own, and I'm happy to share those books at some point too. I did a lot of research to make sense of what was going on, what I was seeing, what I was feeling, what I was hearing, and it really helped me to harness also the anxiety that I was dealing with for many years of my life, because I thought that all of that was my own energy. And then I realized through this transformation that it was outside of me. And as I started to work with spirit, that ability to kind of control like when I was available, when I'm not, because I'm a mother. I have a career that I love, 9 to 5, normal. And then there's this, which is for me, yes, it's incredible to work with people and to connect to spirit, but my main part of it is to empower others to connect with themselves and to learn how to connect with their higher selves and to be inspired through the messages that they receive from their loved ones. So that's kind of the short of it. But that's a lot, I know.
When did you start kind of noticing that you had these visions and presences?
So there's a couple different things that I really couldn't explain early on. I did have, as you know, you and I have been friends since I was 12. I didn't have like the most amazing upbringing. It wasn't, all terrible, but I had some stresses at home. And when I would go through that, it was kind of crazy to me how, even though I was going through that, there were times when I felt my great-grandmother's presence. That feeling when you hug your daughter or your husband, you just know that energy. It's just, this is my daughter, this is my husband. Well, my great-grandmother had this special presence about her. Her and I connected. She passed away when I was probably around 10. But I always knew what that felt like. And as I was growing and going through this stuff, in my teens, I would feel her around me. And then, I would feel her love, and I could sometimes see, and And there were times actually too where she would take me to the corner of the room, you know, out of my situation and protect me. So it was something I wasn't really understanding, and I didn't even need to. I was just so grateful to have that love and that comfort and that peace. And I just always knew that this wasn't forever, you know. It was just something I had to go through. And I had a ton of angels in my life, including you know, friends that understood me, and I didn't have to talk about this stuff. I didn't have to. It was just, we were just in alignment with what we were doing and where we were going. And you've always been there when I've been at some of the highest points of my life and the lowest, including everyone that's watching. We were both pregnant at the same time. We didn't plan that, but we both became mothers within months of each other. It was pretty incredible. Weeks. It's crazy. She sent me a picture of her belly and she was like, surprise. And I sent one back and I was like, surprise. That was great. That was great. But, you know, throughout life, just always having a knowing of what people needed to hear at the right time, but not really understanding the source, but always trusting it. You know, having, you know, parents that weren't the traditional loving protectors. You just kind of learned how to connect to your own internal guidance and just navigate from that space in your stomach. I knew what was right, what was wrong. I knew I had to grow up a little bit faster. And I just always went with what felt good, you know, and kind of, I didn't know then, but I would see, so I see and I hear, and actually as of last night, I was also smelling and tasting things. I see, I hear, and I also have like a sense of knowing. I think the first person that I realized that I was seeing is another one of our friends' mothers who came through, and she was very insistent on me connecting to her son within the last 5 years. And I did so, but I always, you know, I kind of was, before I was, I guess, out of the closet per se, I kind of just went around it, you know, just reconnected with people or would talk to people and get them talking about their loved ones, and then kind of just navigate from there. And I could slip a message in, you know, well, I'm sure your mom's very proud of you. You know, I'm sure she's still with you, and just kind of make them feel good about whatever was going on or who they missed. You know, sometimes people just want to talk about, you know, their loss. Now it's great. I'm sorry.
Felt like before you couldn't really say, you know, I feel the presence of your lost loved one, so you would just kind of reassure them.
Well, I mean, it was really crazy when I was competing. So I did competitions in bodybuilding, and I was part of a team out in California. And I remember there was one girl, I mean, I could see her practicing, and this is more psychic than it is medium, but I could see her, she was practicing and practicing. I mean, it felt like she was just desperate to like know that she was going to be okay, or just to like, you know, the confidence thing, you know. And I don't know what it was. We weren't even that close, but the one day I just was like getting pushed from spirit to connect with her. So I just started talking to her and started calming her down, and like, you know, Hope, you always just know what to say right at the right moment. I just don't quite understand. So yeah, I just would slip it in like that with even strangers. And there were times where I would say, like when I met her finally after a year, we competed in the same show. I remember she's super supportive now. But I remember when I told her, I was just like, I think the messages that I get aren't from, you know, me just knowing when. I think they're from spirit, you know. She just looked at me just blank, you know. And I remember what that felt like. And it's not that I, you know, take it personal. I wanted her to know that it came from a source that was greater than myself. You know, it wasn't just me who knew that she needed a positive message. You know, I got to a place where I didn't even want to take credit for this, because it's not me. It's not me. It's your angels. It's your guides. It's your loved ones who are really, truly looking out for you. And I wasn't quite ready. That was, I think, 2014. But, you know, as I'm going through this, and this is even before my uncle's passing, you know, as I'm working on myself, and I'm sure you know, the clearer that you get with yourself and your own wounds and where you're going, you know, I worked very hard on my body and my mind and my soul for health reasons, you know, from everything that I went through. And that was outside before I ever knew about the metaphysical world, stepped into a shop, read a book. I had no idea what I was doing, was really asking to get a clear connection with my higher self and to be able to receive more. So, I mean, I'm waking up from dreams and I'm like, I remember one day I woke up and I just felt like I needed a motorcycle. And I was like, why do I need a motorcycle? And I thought, this is really weird. This is selfish. I'm a mother. I shouldn't be on a motorcycle, you know, but I mean, it really helped me to be on a motorcycle with all the things that happen with your senses, you know. It was another thing that spirit was pushing me to do that was fun and awesome, to really just be present, you know, to just kick that anxiety and just really be present and enjoy my life, because I was such a, you know,
Serious.
goal, gotta go. Yeah, like I've just been on a mission, you know, and I couldn't believe how easy this whole motorcycle thing happened. I was just like, I want a motorcycle. I said that to someone. They're like, okay, how about this motorcycle? You know, just showed me a picture, and I was like, shit, I really like that motorcycle. Couldn't get it out of my head, you know. And then I was just like, how much is it? And I looked at it, and it was like $3,000. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I ever, I'm like, all right, well, I should probably take a couple motorcycle courses. You know how easy that was? I had the motorcycle courses done in like 2 weeks and the motorcycle at my house within like no time, with, you know, just a title. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing? But I mean, I love it. I still have it. It's just another, it's like spirit was preparing me through everything that I went through with my parents, with, I mean, my, you know, the period of you're on your own, you know, and then I was a young mother, and my career, and everybody that I've been, you know, met, all the hardships just kept preparing me, you know, for me to do this work. And it's incredible, because it's almost every person that I read for, I can relate to them on some level, and they, you know, it's almost like through the law of attraction, I'm attracting the people to me to help, that I've integrated those lessons. And very much do I still learn through those readings too. I mean, there's some stuff that comes out of my mouth and I don't even know the meaning of it, and I just look at them and I'm like, wow, I have to look that one up.
I know, I get that too with clients. I'm like, you're just like telling my story, like growing up. You know, one in particular, recently, she was telling me about how she grew up and her story with her mom and her dad, and I was like,
yeah,
you're talking to me right now.
Yeah, right.
I can relate.
It's wild to me, because I'll do some mediumship platforms, and there'll be a group of 25 people there. And when you could look around and read almost, Candy, who's on here, she was part of the biggest group that I read for. I mean, I can honestly relate to every single person sitting in there. And there was this one girl in particular, I mean, she was very quiet, and she didn't even want to talk, you know, really. And I was giving her a reading, and God love her, she was having some issues with her sister, and it was just like me and my sister. And I gave her so much insight, you know, because she was really taking it hard. I mean, our you know, our closest people to us are our siblings, our parents, our children. Boy, those are the ones that are going to show us some lessons, you know. And I'm real excited, because there's just so much that I am prepared to offer, you know, with my readings, and with, I'm working with the bookshop. I have a friend who I do readings out of her bookshop, and you're too cute. No, it's fine. All the books that I've read, I told her, let's get them at wholesale, and I'm just gonna do some giveaways at some of my readings, and just, you know, there's so many people that I have like this much time with them, you know, and there's some people that just need grief support. And I've added a link on my website to find that, whether it's for children, whether it's for, you know, faith-based groups, non-denominational groups. And also I'm connecting with Not One More, which in my area is for people who have passed away from overdose, just to offer their families some type of support and some information, because, you know, we're together. It could be a couple hours if you're in a group. It could be an hour, you know, in a session. But really what I'm about is not just that limited piece of time, because there's so much to pass on, but how you can continue moving forward in your journey and where you want to be. So no matter what that is.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find a community that, you know, rather than just having someone that you speak to once a week. It's like, even with coaching or like psychotherapy, even, you see someone once a week,
Right.
and like you can only get so far. You can stretch like going to see someone for once a week out 10 years, but you can achieve so much more, you know, comfort and clarity and, I guess, growth by surrounding yourself with people on a more consistent basis.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of my mentors recently just said that, you know, there are a lot of people who he's worked with that consider their time together like therapy. There's different readings that you can get. I don't go into great depth on my website, but I mean, it's important to let people know beforehand. I tell them my process. I tell them what my ability is and how it works. For me, I get pictures, I get symbols, I get moving pictures. I can tell now, because I've been practicing for so long, that it's a time period. You know, if it's in the past, if it's now, or if it's future. If it's showing me a memory, there's a time of blending where I'll have just a feeling, and I won't be able to speak on what I'm getting, but I can tell you exactly how I feel in that moment, you know, and that explains what's going on for the sitter. So I get the symbolic stuff, you know, if I know if someone's a hard worker, sorry, there's a lot of noise, because spirit will show me a work boot. For me, that's one of my symbols that I know that this person was a hard worker. So that they literally show me a work boot. That doesn't mean this person could have been a hard worker sitting behind his computer, but I see a busted up work boot. That's just how they work. But it comes so fast. And when I start and I try and just get that link, once I get in there, you know, there's stuff coming so fast, and it's just like, there's just like a reel, and I've got to pick what stands out the most and say, you know, what does this mean to you? Or, you know, does this mean something to you? They don't even have to tell me what it means, because I can go into it if they want me to, and just expand. And the more that we get into it, the more I get. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a medium. You know, some people think it's pretty scary to talk to people who have passed, you know, and they just want insight. One thing that I have in my bio is that I've always had the ability to see people on a soul level. And that came pretty early on, out of protection, out of just trying to understand my situation as a child. But I mean, I'm not sure if you can speak to this, but you know, I didn't consider myself to be one of the most popular kids. I didn't sit at one place at the you know, in the lunchroom. I acknowledged, you know, everyone. I tried to be, as I wasn't perfect. There were days I probably made fun of somebody's Birkenstocks or, you know, whatever. I don't know. I could tell what people needed. And even if it was just an acknowledgement or a hello. And from there, you know, I didn't care what your projection of who you were was. I can see right past it. I don't care your religion, where you're from, the color of your skin. I mean, I just see everybody for who they are. What I do see is whose souls shine the brightest. And I make sure that I also tell them too. I work with a gentleman. I mean, he's from India, but I swear he's like the Indian Jesus. He is just like the purest soul I've ever. He just walks around with a smile on his face. Like, he's so happy all the time. And he just feels like you just want to sit right next to him and just, you know, he just oozes good vibes.
So actually, let's transition a little bit, because I know you covered a lot of the bases, but like without really getting a clear understanding of some things, especially for some people who,
right,
from my audience, might not. I mean, they're into the woo-woo somewhat, but like they're also probably not that familiar with like this stuff particularly like psychic stuff. So it's like, I want to talk about the clairs. I know there's like,
Right. Well, in the psychic, so the clairs.
Yeah, what are the clairs and what do they mean? Because I
There's
like a few of them. So
right. Okay. So clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyant, clairseeing is clairvoyant, clairaudient is clairhearing, and what is the other one that I just said? It's funny, the all-knowing is the other one. I don't know the whole list of them. I don't make it a point with what I do to memorize everything at this point. I'm gonna have to get into, you know, some of the stuff that spirit shows me for my own references. But what that means, it works with both psychic and medium, but psychic and medium are two different things. So a medium receives, I receive information from spirit.
That's a medium?
A medium. A psychic perceives. So psychic can get stuff through medium work, but as a psychic, we're actually looking into things. One thing that I'm able to do just naturally, and I don't know how, but if someone says, oh, you know, like I lost my keys, where are they? You can just look into it. It's just weird. It's called remote viewing. I also can, for some, you know, remote viewing helps me in my readings too. I think, you know, I'm able to describe the entire room, you know, and the setup of the furniture and what's on the wall and the color of the, you know, the paint and the floor. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm looking in the past or I'm looking in the future. I can do that right now. Mm-hmm. So there's all different kinds of things. And, you know, and a lot of it is not always 100%. When I first learned that I was doing this, my uncle was in the middle of passing away, and he had come to me in a dream, and he was in a house that I never was in before. And in the dream, he showed me the whole first floor and where everything was and how the ceiling structure was, it was high ceilings and kind of like everything at an angle. And they had a stone floor, and it was gorgeous. But what I noticed when I was confirming this with my cousin of the inside of this house was that what spirit gives me is often the mirror reflection.
Yeah.
So what's crazy is you have to learn your code, you know? So as I'm like talking to people and telling them what I see, I had to I had two choices. I could tell them the opposite, or I can start really pleading with spirit and say, can you just show that to me the right way? So I, you know, can say that right is right and not remember that left is right. Because there's enough stuff going on. But, you know, there's a lot of things that will come to you in different ways too.
Yeah.
You have all these gifts, but there's dreams, you know.
There's numbers. I saw something on Facebook, I think it was just recently, where this girl was like totally joking, but it was really funny. It's like, can you please just like give me something tangible? Can you just show me very clearly and stop like giving me numbers to decode? Just show me.
Just show me the sign. It's really interesting though, because signs can be one of the most beautiful things. Like there's nothing better than, there's certain songs that come through that I know are from certain people because I feel their presence. But I mean, as soon as I hear them, like it's just instant, I feel them with me and tears running down my face. And the same thing can happen. She's online, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I shared, because this is really, really cool. And she reminded me that when we had our reading, there's one of the signs that she gets is through feathers. And specifically, she has a lot of ducks in her, and like outside of her house. And she was really, really worried the other day when the storm was coming, you know, because her son's in Florida. And I just happened to pull a card on from the deck that I was working with, Gabby's new deck, Gabby Birdstein's new, Universe Act. And she pulled a card, and she was just like, oh, this is on point. They're in alignment with each other, and this is what I'm worried about. And she asked for a sign. So if she knows that that's her sign, especially, she already knew before I told her, but we had a session and we covered it. And I was able to tell her without her asking or bringing it up. So that's like another, like, yes, that's my sign. I know that's my sign, you know. And then she looked outside during the time of this horrific hurricane, and there was just ducks everywhere, everywhere. And I'm like, I just love hearing that stuff. It just makes me, there's just, you can find signs. I mean, it's not that you're reading too much into it. I wouldn't start saying like, oh, my number is 8. And, you know, use the 2 and the 2 and the 4 and, oh, that's my number. It's 2, 2, 4. That's 8. You add it all together. Now you're forcing that. That's not how it works. But there's so many signs out there that really, my uncle sends me hearts. Okay. This is a necklace from my uncle that he gave me on my 21st birthday. I don't know. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't have it with me. It's on my desk over there, which has really bad lighting, so we're over here. But I have angel wings in the shape of a heart on my birthday. Somebody gave me this.
That's pretty.
And it's a heart. And I get them. And I know they're more frequent, but you can tell when it's from your loved one because, well, especially like me, I'm a little sensitive, but you just feel their presence. Like you just know that's from them. So, yeah.
How can others kind of tap into this? Because I know that we all have this ability. It's just,
right.
You know, most of us are just kind of not tuned in yet.
Right.
So how can you do that? And how can you do it like while staying more high vibe and not getting kind of weighed down by the heaviness that can come with it sometimes?
Right. Sometimes there's a lot of healing that comes with it, and it can be heavy. It can be very heavy. I've watched some of, I mean, you and I have been together through some of the times where I've needed, I mean, I think the first time that I was connected to Source and really knew it, you and I were together and I was doing all that work. Like it was like 8 hours a day for like a full week or something. And I kept going to the bathroom to wash my hands, like go to the bathroom, wash my hands. And I looked in the mirror and I kept like, I looked different. I swear I looked like a different person because I was like peeling the layers off, you know, of the crazy in my life and understanding. And I think it was like the last day that I was there. It was like right before I needed to go to the airport. I don't know if you recall this, but at the time I didn't realize I was scrying. That's the term. But we were going through an exercise and I was staring at the wall and I could see into 2 people's lives perfectly and why they did what they did and their whole perspective and this, that, and the other, which is very much psychic. And I was doing soul readings. That's what that is. And understanding and, you know, interpreting it. But some of the stuff you'll stumble upon and it can be heavy. But I wrote a whole list of things here that I do to keep, when I have like a group to keep my vibration high. Meditation is huge. Meditation is so huge, but there's some people, they don't know how to quiet their mind. But there's so many resources out there and I don't have them, but I know you do. You helped me with meditation from the beginning. So I don't know if you want to post that do you have stuff that you do off on your site? I think you may.
Yeah, I do. Actually, just quickly, like, I think the best thing you can do if you have trouble with like, you know, quieting your mind and not just, obviously most people in the modern society can't just like sit down on a cushion and meditate. Like it's pretty hard, even sometimes. So like the quickest thing for me is to just go outside and sit my ass on the ground and feel like the ground, my hands, and it's just, it gets you grounded because that's
exactly. Yeah, it's so funny because when we were growing up, I remember I was really close with Viet, and you know, his whole family's Buddhist, and I was hanging out with them, and they're telling me how they get quiet and they have no thoughts in their mind, and I was so naive, and I have told, Allison's heard me tell this story in groups. I thought that he was slow. Like I literally thought that maybe he was just slow, that they were slow.
On his Facebook page so see this.
I had no idea. I mean, oh gosh, I love him and his whole family. I still talk to them all. But I mean, I didn't understand meditation. My family spends so much time taking me to church and telling me to pray, which is teaching us to ask, but never taught me how to listen. Never taught me how to listen and receive.
Mm.
That's one thing I will not make the same mistake with my child. And meditation is huge in our life. And I think that that's a lot of times where our answers come from. So if you can get into that space and you can quiet your mind, it's huge for me with connection. Another one, my boyfriend loves music. I mean, I don't see him happier unless he's got music in his life. My daughter sings nonstop. So between listening to the both of them with their music and their singing, because I don't do much of either, it fills the house. You know, we're happy. The other thing is to really identify where your energy is going. So those toxic relationships or, you know, friendships, even your family, sometimes you just need to give yourself a little distance. You know, some of that stuff really tugs at you and it takes up all your space in the head. You're not really gonna find yourself in those quiet moments when you're stressed out about, you know, a relationship or a situation, or even somebody else's situation, and you just listen to them all damn day.
Yeah.
No. I can't do that anymore. And it was hard, but I have pretty much made myself completely mindful of my energy and where it goes. I want it to be used in the highest way that I possibly can. And it doesn't mean that I don't love very much the people that I can't talk to day to day. It just means that I am so freaking sensitive that I can't handle it. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm just to a place where I'm like, you know, I've got a lot of work to do.
So do you do like cord cutting, or how do you
Yes.
like protect?
Oh yeah, so I don't have it here, but I do cord cutting. I do when I pray Saint Michael or Archangel Michael to place protection over me every day. I have a whole thing, a daily practice where I light some candles. I light one for my uncle. I light one for my friend Justin, and I light another one for a baby that never made it, a miscarriage I had. And I say my daily prayer. Can you see my table?
Yeah.
So I have, that's Charlie's candle, everybody's candle. They have little tea lights, the baby over there. And then I have a diffuser, oils, huge.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell people oil. I don't even have time to be one of those distributors. I love the girl that I, you know, asked a bazillion questions to, and she knew that I wasn't going to be a distributor, but boy, I have them on my stomach right now, to tell you the truth, because I was having like a little stomach thing going on today. And tea is another thing. I never thought herbal tea was as powerful as it is, but it's, you know, all these things. And people don't take this stuff into consideration. They're not going to think, oh, in order for me to get connected with myself, I need to, you know, do all of these things. But the more natural that you keep your space and your area and cleared, and you do just whatever works for you, maybe tea is not your thing. Maybe oil is not your thing. Maybe it's not the right oil. Maybe you don't want to go out and get a handful of crystals. That's another thing, you know, but these are the things that make me feel better. And
yeah, I mean, it's good because I think certain things resonate at different times too for me. Like sometimes the crystals are just like way too much. They open me up like way too much. And then, you know, different oils, like they just make me feel really overwhelmed, and because I'm pretty sensitive too. But other times I'm like, this is just what I needed. And it really is just all about like, these are all natural, high vibrational things. Like they're very strong. And we as people are also like that as well. So, and these things aren't just like create silly like tools that we're, you know, using, like we think that they're, you know, just like our phones. It's kind of like,
I didn't realize the magnitude of what they do for me until I was to a place where I needed help, you know? I mean, once I accepted the fact that, okay, so my uncle passed away, And what can I do? I can serve my community, and I can show love like he did, and give love like he did. And in his memory, honor him with every reading that I do, every event that I do. And then it was like, me. I couldn't just go to the gym. I had to go compete on, I go like, it was like, okay, here I am. And then I was, doing groups. And I mean, I'm not saying that I wasn't ready. I was very much trusting that Spirit would be there for me. But my body went through a lot, with all that energy coming through me. And, there were times in the beginning where I didn't understand what was happening. So I needed to do a lot of work on clearing out the energy and Epsom salt baths. And, I just didn't understand what was happening. So I just went to the metaphysical shops and did my research to what worked better for me in this situation, because I wasn't going to stop. That was not an option. No. So, and like you said, I have on here, take a walk in the woods. For me, it's sitting at the beach. Now the beach isn't anywhere close. So my one friend, Lori, she'll literally send me pictures or video of the waves crashing. And I have them on my phone. And sometimes I'll just look at it, listen to it. I mean, that's what I need. I never felt more at home than when I was in Hawaii. And for those of you that don't know, that's where Corinne is right now, the lucky, lucky lady.
No, I'm not. I'm in Austin right now.
You're in Austin. Oh, I didn't know that. That's terrible. I don't queue up with you. Well, tell them how many places you've lived. Alaska, Texas, Delaware, California. It's hard to keep up with her.
I think, okay, so I just want to make sure I think I had another question for you, but why don't we, because I think it's already half hour in. So if
Sure.
you want to take questions, do you think now's a good time?
Yeah. How did you want to do that? I have the chat up.
Yeah.
I don't see like anybody else's video. So if anybody wants to ask a question, can you chat in the Zoom group chat? I think you can find it on the bottom. You should be able to find it.
Yeah, just click on the little chat bubble thing, and then the chat box should show up on your right hand side. And then if you have a question, like she said, she's willing to answer anything. So if she can, so go for it.
Definitely. I don't believe that I'll be doing readings tonight. I didn't have any.
Yeah, I don't think you can do a reading really like now in the amount of time we have. But if there's anything, where am I going? Says Laura.
Laura. Yeah. So Laura, we're not giving readings, but
do you have a question about?
That's Tana. Do you remember Tana? Of course you do.
Oh yeah, I thought that's okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Then.
How do you separate your personal life from your work life as a medium?
Good question.
Okay, so it's a good question. I have to do this. It's a very personal question about my personal life. So it is hard, but so here is the deal. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yes, Laura, a question, anything you want to know about mediumship in general, or how, however you translate that in your life, not necessarily like a question for me to look into something for you. Thank you. All right, Lori and Allison. So I'm very organized. It's something that is essential to survival. I have a job that I absolutely love, and I don't know if I'd ever separate the two. Like, I have no plans on going full-time medium. Right now it just works with what I'm doing, because I really love it. A lot of people know that I work on weekends and I work at nights, but I balance it, and I do that on the nights I don't have my daughter, and the weekends I don't have my daughter. So Alyssa is number one. She will always be before anything else. I want to make sure my time with her, because I share custody with her, that she is the focus. And when I don't have her is when I work. So for my boyfriend, he gets a nice calendar that is from now until like 3 months forward. So if he wants to do something and he can, he, you know, tells me like, hey, Mike and Ange wants to know if you can go to dinner, you know, and I'm just like, all right, let's make it work. And we took a vacation, you know, I took time off over the summer. It does work. And I'm in a very supportive relationship, and he pushes me, and he accepts, you know, that this is something that makes me happy, and loves that I'm able to assist people, you know, in their own journey. He's actually in hospice. So, you know, in his own special way, he has very special gifts, and he works with family members who are going through some difficult times and is able to be their grounding force. So it's kind of interesting how, you know, we deal with this on different spectrums, but
Yeah.
my personal life just kind of works. I don't know. This is what I love to do. When you're passionate about something, Corinne, it doesn't feel like work.
So you're basically just organized. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Right.
I think it tends to be almost a little bit easier when you have something that you have to do, like if you have to commit to something like a job or a child
Right.
or a relationship.
You're like, yeah, I'm not giving readings while I'm working, you know, as computer support during the week. That's not going to happen. Right. Now, you know, I have, there's times today when a coworker of mine who just went through a horrific freaking hurricane, and she had an appointment and she came back and I could see her crying. I wasn't like I was spying on her, but she just felt very emotional, and I check on her. I mean, it's not like I'm doing this work. I don't really turn it off, I guess, but I just it still kind of trickles into other areas of my life. You know, I look at my kids, didn't have to say anything, and I'm like, you have a headache and you didn't tell me. You know, I just kind of, I guess, bring it with me everywhere. All right. So how do you delineate
perception from interception? I'm not sure what that means.
I think what she means is like what my thoughts are and what other people's thoughts are. A lot of this is telepathic. So, so that's a really great question. What I have noticed, I do this thing sometimes where I will forget on purpose certain things that spirit tells me. And then I ask again and I get the same answer, and I'm like, oh my God, I know I didn't remember that. You know, like in the beginning, that's how this would work. I don't know. Oh, what I meant. Reference between psychic and medium. Oh, psychic and medium. The reference between psychic and medium is super simple. Medium, I'm connecting with a loved one. I mean, I'm physically seeing your loved one, your friend, your family in the presence of my face. I mean, blending with my body, and I know that that's not me. You know, it's not my imagination. It's very clear. There's a thing that changes with my breathing. Allison has a whole list of things because she goes to a lot of bigger things that I do. There's something that happens with like I just kind of surrender. So my chest kind of feels a certain way. My eyes apparently get like super blue, and sometimes I even speak with an accent, which is really interesting. And I always tell her when I'm done, I'm like, did I sit like a lady? Because I have a dress on. I get so lost in what I'm doing that I actually forget the fact that I'm a mother and that I just surrender completely, allow spirit to come in, and I just convey everything that I see, that I hear, that I feel, and I just know. It's just, there's just this knowing that's what's happening. That's mediumship, yeah.
And interception.
So I think what she means by that is like what's my own thoughts and then what's somebody else's, or my own communication and what somebody else's. But when she said, right, so I mean, I know when they're my own. Have you considered a study in metapsychoanalysis? No, I don't even want formal training until now. Like I'm working with someone who's pretty powerful in my opinion, well respected. And I wanted to make sure that I was established as a medium and confident in my own ability and my own system before anybody introduced me to anything else, because I want to know how it worked for me. I don't want to take on somebody else's belief. I spent so much of my life peeling back the layers of other people's shit that I took on, that with this work, I wanted it to be so authentic and so me that I don't know how other people's circles work before they start. Mine actually are completely different than most and how they kind of flow. And I say that, but then the last one I did, the whole process changed, you know, because I don't have a process. Like, I don't have a checklist that I go through. I don't sit there and talk about the way that your loved one passed with, you know, validation through death. I don't want to validate through death. I can, but why don't we talk about your happy memories? What are the best things that you remember about your father that you love to do? Isn't that much nicer to talk about than like maybe the last like flash moment of before he passed away and how he passed away? No, I don't want to talk about that. If we want to, like there was a family that had a bunch of questions at that one circle, and we went through it. And I know when I'm supposed to and when I'm not, you know, because sometimes they won't move on to the happy stuff. They're like, nope, here we are. We need to talk about this right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of preconceived notions that we have to like cover these certain bases that like modalities say that you should, and certain gurus or whatever. But I think we really need to remember that we all do have this power.
There's this inner knowledge, right? It's all here. It's just remembering it. I've done this before.
It's just allowing yourself to open up and feel it.
All right. So my perception is that most people are looking for closure from a moment that they passed. Yeah. You know, some people do want to hear, you know, I've had many moments where there are people who have passed and they're in a coma, or they're in a state where they're not able to communicate, and they just want to know that this daughter sat there every moment and held their hand and gave them permission to cross over, and they'll come through and they'll thank them for that. Let's see, who comes to you the most with people that you read for? Let's see, who comes to you the most with people that I think now, Samantha, we can, do you?
It means like who comes through to you.
Well, it's interesting when she says that. My initial response would be to talk about my uncle and to talk about my friend Justin. They're always with me. Justin I share with his whole huge family, but he's still one of the most supportive, powerful spirits that I've ever encountered. And they're very much like, even last night I had a reading and there was something, I mean, there was just a detail that I couldn't quite figure out. And Charlie patted me, my uncle, on the back and goes, let it go, just let it go, just let it go. So I get a lot of help, you know, from my guides, and they're not emotional. They're very, you know, they just talk like a monotone type of, that's how I know it's them. It's like a very serious, and then I listen. But I mean, as far as types of readings, everyone, you know, I've seen everything. I've seen things that most people don't want to. You know, I have seen the most beautiful things, you know, love between a father and a daughter, you know, and she saves him a seat, and he just comes and shows up and says, thanks for saving me a seat. And boy, do I miss those buttered rolls you make, you know, and just, yeah, just some of the most, I mean, there is nothing better feeling to stand between two people that love each other so much, because it just goes right through me. And remember, you know, I didn't have these relationships with my parents. You know, I didn't know what this kind of love was until I had my daughter. So this is like I'm blown away. It's amazing. So Candy, when you're reading, does negativity believe, block, or hinder reading? You know, that's a really excellent question, Candy. I had a really difficult situation recently where a very happy, high vibing man who passed away. The sitter asked me, well, how does he feel about his brother? Well, I mean, with that tone of voice, I didn't know it was going to be negative, but I keep trying to connect and find out how he feels about his brother, and it's like crickets, you know, there's like nothing. And then I notice that I feel like I don't like this person when I think about them, you know, and that didn't block me, but we're not going to get an opinion from someone who is hanging up out here with their high vibe, you know, in heaven with peace and love and the understanding of who we are on a soul level. They're not holding on to anything that your ego is doing out of anger, you know, any bad behavior that your brother is, you know, giving off to your family, or, you know, maybe he went to your grave and he did something disrespectful, you know, honestly, he does not, it's not that he doesn't care, but he's unaffected by it. He's still gonna love you regardless. That's how it works. And we're not gonna get a conversation about how he's mad about it. It doesn't happen. So I had to explain that, you know, and I wasn't really feeling at first like this was an accepted answer. And, you know, I'm not gonna change what I'm getting or to appease you. I'm not gonna just change, you know, what I'm feeling or what I'm getting from spirit and say, oh, he's pissed. He's pissed that he went to the grave and he did something disrespectful just so we can move on. No, I'm gonna tell you how it works. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and that's just how it is. They're not worried about it. So it doesn't block me. I keep it moving, and I'm not afraid to speak the truth. And you can accept it. If it doesn't feel right to you, you don't have to believe it. But yeah, I don't have any stories around that. All right, so
Is there any, let's see.
Craig, I want to talk to Craig. Years ago, I took a workshop, and the program was called Sylvan Method. It opened my capability to do remote reading. Have not done since. Psychometry, which I can still do, and also focus on grounding methods. Keep up the good work. We need to have you down here for a small group. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be amazing, Craig. And I can also shoot you when I'm in the area and see if it works for your family. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times with those workshops, you feel, listen, first let me just say this. When you're doing this type of work, I mean, for years and years and years, I didn't talk about this. So the first thing when you're doing that type of work is you're looking for validation, right? Validation outside of yourself. Is this true? I mean, literally my uncle passed and I knew what I was doing for years, but when I saw him and I hear him and he's everywhere and he's never leaving, I keep thinking like he's gonna leave, right? Or like this can't, like I have to be imagining this because this is my uncle. This isn't just, you know, somebody else's mom, or your emotions are just so involved. And yeah, hang out with a couple other mediums and you don't have to say a word. They're constantly telling you all the shenanigans that he's doing, you know, because he's a funny guy. But, you know, I feel if you're new at this and you go to a workshop, they're very empowering and you're just in the perfect conditions to let loose, relax, test a few things, you know, based on their suggestions, see what feels right for you, connect and go with it. But that doesn't mean that you need that workshop or that mentor to do it on your own. And a lot of times, like I talk to, Tana's very gifted, you know, just get online and find a support group. Find people to practice with if you're trying to figure it out, you know, your own code or your own gifts. Allison, life after death. Can you give me your interpretation of what it's like? How much time do we have, Corinne? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
You done? Okay. All right, so in the space I'd like to call heaven, it's very interesting because when I connect and I can see what's going on, there's a lot of people that are doing different things. There's different, it's like different levels of, just like here, you connect with someone, you're like, oh, that's a really old soul. You just know they have this wisdom, this way about them. I think also there's like a, you know, in heaven, I think it's the ascension process. There's some people that are, you know, up here. They're very much full of wisdom and they assist, but they're not the ones that are doing all of this other work that I see, you know, down here. It doesn't mean that anybody's better or less. It just means that's where they are in their own soul's growth process. I see some people that I know working hard with groups of people. They are basically, their job is to teach and to assist and to help them integrate different lessons. My one friend, Justin, which is Allison's son, I constantly see him working with other people. And it is typically people who have passed in the same manner that he has. And he will greet them and he will work with them and teach them. It could be anything from how to connect with your family, you know, just the whole process. Because when you pass, there's like a life review. And then, you know, they choose what they do. My uncle choose to help me and to be my guide. You know, he still does other things, but that's like his main role. Justin's very much active in like 5 different things. He doesn't stay still. Like one day he's with a group of people, the next day he's hand in hand with this girl, Jessica. I don't know, he's having a good time. You know, so, you know, he's and I mean, in a moment's notice, we all know, he shows up for us. I mean, I don't necessarily need to go look for him. He's very much around and likes to joke and have a good time and everything. But there are times where he's kind of, his presence is a little faded, and it could be, there's no sense of time over there, but for me, it'll feel like a couple days. And that's like really boring because he's so fun, but he's got shit to do. You know, he's doing stuff. There are people that I've connected with that are just chilling, just fishing and doing all the things that they love to do up there. A park ranger, he was just sitting there showing me this beautiful, all the colors are very much vivid. They're not, you know, like it's like the brightest green you've ever seen, the most beautiful blue sky. Just doing what he loved to do, and that was just to like be in nature and to fish. So there's some people that are just kind of hanging out there. There's some people that are still working. It just depends. And some people are preparing to come back, and some people are resting. Let's see. I think anything that you want to, I'm going to leave it to you, Corinne.
I think everyone's asked all their questions, so cool.
Awesome. I couldn't read. There was just a lot of stuff, but it looks like a lot of love. So thank you guys very much.
I love you,
I love you too. I appreciate it.
Candy, we love you too. Awesome.
Candy is awesome.
Lori, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before you guys jump off, Hope, tell us where we can find you online. And
it's hopetailormedium.com, and my Facebook is also, you know, the typical facebook.com/hopetailormedium. So pretty simple. There's a lot of information on there. Ask me questions. You know, if you have any questions after the fact, you can reach me there. Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity. People can book readings on from your website? Yes, from the website. Yep, it's pretty, it's mobile friendly. I use Acuity Schedule. I know you're a huge fan. It's super simple. You know, you just click on it, you pick a date and time that works for you, and it goes straight to the payment method, and it sends you an email reminder and anything. People are already sending Facebook messages. Oh, nice. It's awesome. Cool. Well, we're going to probably get kicked off in a second. So thank you so much. Thanks so much for coming, you guys. And thanks, Hope, for being here and for teaching us all this fun stuff. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Take care.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.